Hi everyone, this is John at Keystone Music Repair in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and this is a one-handed saxophone that I just finished working on. It's a left-hand only instrument. This is the second such instrument that I've modified. The first one was keyed to play down to low D. This one is keyed to play down to low C, all just using the left hand. And the way it does that, first of all, the pinky keys here have been modified to play F sharp, F, and E. And that was done by Brian Russell at Russell Winds out in Wisconsin, according to a system that he developed. This is the same system that we put on the other one-handed sax that I worked on, and I have some videos about that instrument where I go into sort of the theory and function behind that mechanism. But once you get down to low E, in order to continue playing down the range of the instrument, I've just finished adding these thumb touch pieces. And so they're for D, E flat, or D sharp, C, oh, hit the C sharp there by accident, C, and then C sharp. And you can see that when you press one touch piece, it activates the other touch pieces as needed. If we come down here, they're pretty long rods, and this is the other end of everything. Everything is connected to its respective keys with minibals, which are nice. They're very stable, they feel good, they're quiet, and they don't really wear out. They last a really long time. So if I flip it over here, you'll be able to see what actually happens to the keys when I press these touch pieces down. So here's the pinky keys. There's F sharp, F, and E. And then once you're there, you hold down the E key. I'm trying to do this one-handed, so it's a little tricky. You hold down the E key, and then if you can play D. So closing that. If you press E flat, you get the E flat key open, so you can see, and the D key closes. If I go and play C, you can see it closes the C key and the D key together. And then finally C sharp, which is the most complex, opens the C sharp key here and closes the C and D keys all together. There's a fingerprint on there I gotta clean off. The B and B flat keys here are just cosmetic. They move, but there's no way to activate them. They are mounted on a rod together. That's something that Brian Russell did when he did the initial modification, just as a cosmetic thing. But one of the functions it does perform, there's a spring cradle here that actually closes the C sharp key. So that's kind of nice to have. There are adjustable lugs on the E flat, the C, and the C sharp. And what those do is they just enabled me to dial in the throw, the travel on those keys, and the regulations so that everything moves together really nicely. Everything moves the same distance, so it all feels good, so that up here you don't have a whole lot of slop in the mechanism. Everything is nice and tight. That was something I came up with for this instrument that I really liked. It made the job a lot easier. A couple other things that are maybe worth pointing out. You know, I had to add 4 touch pieces here, but I really only felt I had enough space for 3 rods on which to mount them, because there's just not a whole lot of space on the backside of the instrument here. You have to squeeze things in between the F sharp guard, the pants guard. You have the feet for the what's now the F sharp, and the G sharp keys. You have the palm keys here. So in order to save a little bit of space, I made the D and E flat keys coaxial, which means they both ride on the same hinge. So the way I did that is that there's a steel rod that runs through all the way through here, and the 2 ends of the D mechanism, the touch piece up here, and then I guess what you'd call the driver down here, you can see there's these little tiny screws that actually hold those two ends of that mechanism onto the steel rod that runs through. And then the E-flat mechanism is on a tube that floats on that steel rod. So there's the top end of the E-flat mechanism here, the touch piece, and then down the other end, the driver for the E-flat. That's a concept that I took from the way oboe, low B-flat, low B mechanisms are built, and you'd more commonly see it on the trill keys on flutes. That's how they're put together. One other thing I kind of took from the flute world is that I didn't really have a lot of room to put a post here to hold these keys. You know, here are the posts for the C and C sharp. I didn't have a lot of room to put a post, so instead of making a new post, I just attached this sort of arm or slug onto the high D post here. And since I can't put a pivot screw through there, I don't have access to the other end of this post. So I made a little recess inside this slug, and then there's a point on the end of that steel rod that I talked about that runs through here that fits right into that recess and holds it nice and steady. So that's something that I took from the way that the king post on some flutes is designed to hold the stacks in place. One other thing worth pointing out, I needed a vertical space here in order for these touch pieces to be able to move up and down, but in the original design of any saxophone, the side C key is right here. It looks just like the side B flat key that you can see here. So just imagine another one of these right up here. I needed that space, so I took the key off, and I filled in the tone hole with a brass disc that's soldered in place that seals it up, and then I took the bridge off, cleaned that up, and sprayed a little lacquer on it just to also get that out of the way. So the player doesn't use his right hand when he plays. That's a key that's operated with the right hand, so he wasn't going to use that anyway. So we just got it out of the way, and now it provides us with that vertical space. It's tight in there in some spots, but it does work. One other thing I did was, in order to gain a little space here between the thumb rest and the high D post, I made a smaller thumb rest and kind of moved it over and up, just to gain a little space there. It still, fits in with the octave mechanism. You can see that I also cut a little bit off of the end of the octave touch piece, again, just because I wanted to gain some space for the E flat key here. Last thing I'll mention, the instrument has a handle that fits onto what was originally the mount for the adjustable thumb rest. Like I said, the player doesn't use his right hand when he plays, but he can use it to grip. So there's a nut that holds this on that screws onto this post. And that just enables him to stabilize the instrument, which is really important because, all of this stuff going on with the left hand, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of force involved, and you really need the instrument to be held very steady in order for everything to work. So that's pretty much it. That's how this instrument works. If you want to see some more in-depth discussions about some of the theory and mechanics behind some of these mechanisms, I have videos about the other one-handed saxophone I did, the one that goes down to low D, that go into a little bit of that. They're on my YouTube channel. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and thanks for watching.